Hello again everyone, Jeff from Oakland Studio here. Thank you for joining me on a hot and sweaty afternoon in the studio. I'm going to open the window as soon as I finish recording this, but it's a bit noisy at the moment with traffic outside, so I'm going to leave it closed for the moment. Here I am in front of a shelf that you might remember. The last time I was standing in front of this shelf, I think I was telling you about my plans for my Night Goblin army. And here I am now in front of a shelf that is full of painted Night Goblins. So that worked quite well, didn't it? Now this is actually the second time that I've been recording this video, because the first time I recorded this video there wasn't any sound. I got all of these goblins out, laid them all out on my table, sat down behind them, got a nice display going, and came to look at the video back afterwards, and there was no sound, and it's because one of the switches on the microphone wasn't quite over, so it was sort of floating in the middle between one setting and another, and so it didn't record anything. There you go. It wasn't my foolishness not plugging the microphone in, it's just a setting issue, but hopefully that's resolved, and hopefully this video will work. So this has been my Tale of Forth Gamers project over the last years. That's something that was running on the Warhammer Fantasy Battle 4th edition group over on Facebook. It's an army in a year challenge, and so that's what I've been doing. And I think I mentioned when I was talking about my plans, I've been collecting this army over quite a while now. It's not that easy to get hold of Kev Adams Night Goblins, so it's been a little bit of work collecting them, and there's quite a lot in here that are not Citadel. They're other compatible ranges, but I talked a bit about that on my planning of the army. It's not entirely finished. You know how armies are; they're not ever finished. But I have got I've got a Marauder Giant, which actually a friend of mine gave to me a few weeks before it was on made to order, so I didn't have to made to order one, which was nice. And I've got a load of stone trolls and river trolls and regular trolls that I need to paint for it as well. So this isn't a quite finished force, but all of the goblins are finished, and that's really what I wanted to get done. I would probably have got the trolls done had I not got excited about other ranges that I discovered in the process of painting them, and trying to add more and more goblins to the force. But I did, so there were more goblins than I was planning on having, so the trolls kind of got pushed out of the window a little bit, but that's fine. I like the look of a massed goblin army. This is my last Warhammer army. That's intentional. I say last. I shouldn't say last because it probably won't be, but I've got my undead army up here. I've got my Skaven, my Slaneshi host, my Wood Elves, my High Elves, my Empire forces, my Orc force, my Barbarians, my Dwarves, my Famir, of course, which needs a bit of reworking now. I've added a bit to them. I need to go back into them, but I've got those forces mostly sorted. And so the last thing that I wanted to do was a nice Night Goblins force. I could have done, or I could still do, I guess, like a Chaos Dwarves army, a Dark Elf army. There's things that I haven't got, but the things that I haven't got now are mostly things that are not really of much interest to me. So this is my plan, is to stop painting armies now, and to move on to paint small things. I've got other projects that I want to work on. I've got a Space Hulk set, Space Crusades set, the Trinity Battleground set that I got excited about a few years ago that I've not painted up yet still. The Dungeon Quest, Heroes of Dungeon Quest series, some talisman stuff, and lots of dioramas and things. So I'm going to go back to painting small projects, and doing what I did when I was a kid, which was painting individual figures that I like, and I'm going to paint them in a sort of display context mostly, rather than trying to fit them into an army and things. Army painting was something that is fun to do as a year's project, but I'm not somebody who likes painting a lot of figures the same way over and over and over again. My Empire army that I did a couple of years ago was quite a slog for me, and by the end of the project I really didn't want to paint red and yellow checkers or stripes ever again on anything. I have to say that I haven't suffered the same kind of fatigue with the Night Goblins that I did with the Empire stuff. Partly I think that's because Kev Adams sculpts are just so beautiful and so much fun that you kind of you don't want to not do them justice. You want to put as much work into them as you can, but there's always those little details, even when you're painting sort of 20, 30. I mean, most of these being Goblin units are units of 30 models. Even when you're painting sort of 30 of the same figure, you see little quirks and things, and you think, okay, I want to paint this one slightly different. You'll emphasise this detail on this one, or try and get that one spot on. So all the little things. They're not overly fussy models with regards to stuff on them. There's pouches and belts and swords and things, but they're not ridiculously fussy models. And I think that and the technique that I settled on for the robes is really why I was able to keep going on this project. So I settled for a very basic way of doing the robes. I sprayed them with a Molotow ivory colour, and then I hit them with an Army Painter soft tone. And apart from a little bit of shine from the soft tone, I was quite happy with the way that came out. The first few units that I did, the command groups and the troops in the front row, I went back in with the regular foundry paints that I use. Did some spot highlighting with the Boneyard 9C, if anyone's interested. But actually, really, I don't think it read that clearly. So from like the third unit on, I stopped doing that really, and I just relied on the quick shade to pick out the robes, so that I could spend most of my time on faces, because that's obviously where your eye's drawn. Humans are instinctively looking at faces. That's why they say faces and bases are the things that you need to be working on. But yeah, it meant that I could put the effort into the faces and little details on the hats, the occasional checker or moon symbol or arrow or whatever else, to just sort of break them up a little bit. And the banners, of course, but the banners were painted from or on top of printouts from Warhammer Armies and Forces of Fantasy, so using the designs in there. So I didn't have to come up with those designs myself. I just picked ones that I liked and painted over them after printing them out on fabric. So there really wasn't very much work on those either. So it's been quite a low work per model at per army, but obviously there are a lot of models. What I was tending to do was to paint a big block of models, 30 odd strong unit, and then a special something to keep me interested. So I did have a month, I think it was February or possibly March this year, where I was getting a little bit tired of painting goblins. So I went away and I painted some Vermeer, and I painted some other little bits and pieces, and just did something a bit different for a while. Unfortunately, I'd banked quite a lot of figures prior to that, so I was able to take a little bit of a break and do something else. And then I came back to the goblins, and largely I've still enjoyed painting them, even up to this last couple of units, which were units that weren't in the army originally. But last summer, you may have seen on Facebook, I was playing around sculpting 3-ups. So I sculpted this 3-up little hooded goblin chap, and scanned him in and was playing with tweaking him digitally and printing him out. And my plan originally was to get these into an injection mould, which I still may do, just to play with, because I can 3D print injection mould tooling, and we've got a small injection moulder at work, so I was going to play with those, with producing some plastics, because it's just an interesting different aspect of the hobby to play with, which is why this guy's kind of got lines, and he has to maintain that line all the way around the outside that 4th edition plastics, all plastics still have to, but the 4th edition plastics is particularly noticeable. They're quite flat. So that was my aim, was to produce something that was an alternative to the 4th edition spear goblins that were in the box set, as particular Night Goblins. But ultimately what I've ended up doing is printing them out, high resolution printing, 3D printing them, putting them into a vulcanized mould. And so I've now got a unit of 20 axe-bearing goblins and 30 spear-bearing goblins in my own sculpts, and I wanted to get those painted up and into the army as well. And if you're interested, those will be part of an Oakbound project that's going to be launching in September, so keep an eye out for that. It's going to be quite fun. I think I've just put together the artwork and sort of getting that ready to send off now. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. So yeah, even though I have been painting a lot of goblins, by breaking it up with painting fun things in between and not being too hard on myself if there's a month where I haven't quite got there. I tried to paint more when I was in the mood for it. So at months that I seem to be getting on okay with painting stuff, I tried to just keep going and keep planning at it and don't stop because I've met the month's quota, try and get ahead. And then there were months when I didn't have enough time really to dedicate to it, or I wasn't really feeling in the zone, or had other things to do. Then it didn't matter so much. The pressure was off, so that was helpful. I've got to try and sort out 2,000 points worth of this lot to take for a game at Bring Out Your Lead next weekend, which isn't going to be easy because I haven't quite done the maths on it, but I reckon there's between 5,000 and 6,000 points up here, and trying to decide what to leave at home is going to be difficult. I've obviously taken the fun things. I'm taking the squig hoppers, I'm taking the squigs, I'm taking as many fanatics as I can, I'm taking doom divers, and I'm taking as many Kev Adams sculpts as I possibly can. My thing with goblins, the reason that I like them is that it's really quite difficult to power game with goblins. I'm sure you can do it. I'm sure people have worked out ways of doing it, but when you're working with an army that's dealing with animosity, when it hasn't got very high leadership anyway, when models are dying in their swarms, you've got squig hoppers bouncing around randomly, you've got fanatics unleashed all over the place. You never know when fights are going to start out in your own ranks. It's really impossible to plan very far ahead. So I quite like this because I can just hand all responsibility over to the dice and go, there you go, that's my goblins are just playing among themselves, and it's not my bad generalship, it's just goblins. And I can just have fun watching and not expect too much of them. So that's really what I'm going to maximise. And if you're there, do come and say hi. It's great to meet people. I have this weird thing as a host of the YouTube video, as you like, whereby people will watch this video. Hopefully they will like this video. Hopefully they will feel like they know me a little bit. That's part of the reason for doing this. I'm not very good at approaching people, but I feel like if I do videos and talk to camera, then people who see it feel like they know me a little bit, and then they feel like they can come and speak to me, and I'm approachable, which I am approachable. I think I'm a nice guy anyway. Come and have a chat with me, and it'd be really nice to meet you, but I won't necessarily know who you are, so do still introduce yourself. Just to saying hi, my name's such and such, I saw you on YouTube, is totally fine. We'll be on best of terms after that. It'd be great to have a chat with you if you've enjoyed stuff, and as always, if there's stuff you want to see or stuff you don't want to see on this channel, let me know. So highlights, let's pick out some highlights, and it's impossible because there's so much character in this army, but I started off with my warlord on Wyvern, and that Skarsnik as my warlord on his Wyvern is still very much the centerpiece of the army. I just recently finished off, so bookending the army, I finished off with a model from Satanic Panic, which is a tribute sculpt to an old Citadel wizard in a chair, but again, a friend of mine gave me one, and I thought, oh, he looks goblin-y. He's got a pointy robe and a pointy nose, and must be goblin-y. So I painted him up as a goblin shaman on a litter being carried around the battlefield. So he's a fun sculpt, and I left him to last as something enjoyable, something light-hearted to finish on. The Foundry Jesters, I've really enjoyed painting those up. The Doom Divers were great. Loved Doom Diver month. That was fun. Just recently, I finished working on and painting up the spider riders that are Night Goblin cave spider riders rather than Forest Goblin spider riders. I think they've come out really nicely. Fanatics, love the Fanatics, especially this little trio here of the C series. Fanatics, they're my favourite. So again, I left them to last. More motivation to keep going, you see. And I think the banners have worked really well, and the whole cohesive robe thing, because they've all got that cream robe as a basis. Some more recently, particularly, I painted up a bit more Night Goblin-y. I did some 4th edition style red bows and some yellow bows, and the last block of goblins that I painted up, or last 2 blocks, I actually did some in black robes with black and yellow checks, but mixed them in a unit with cream robes as well, so everything looked cohesive. And I think that does make the army look really cohesive, but also each unit, because of its different banner and its different weapon selection, its different shield styles, each unit also looks nicely defined. So I think that's come across really well, and I'm looking forward to getting them on the table. So what's next? As I say, this is my last army project, but it won't be my last project. I've got lots of other things I want to do. Marauder Giant is coming next. I don't think I'm going to get him done before Boil, but I might do him now just as a bit of a treat. But I've got other things to do. I'm working on sculpts for the Oakbound Patreon, coming on really nicely. So if you are signed up to the Oakbound Patreon, then that's going to be coming up shortly. I'll do a video on those, the next step of the process. As I say, I've got this project for September that the artwork is now finished and sort of the layout is done. I just need to sort out the technicalities of that, get that in place, pack everything, wait for the artwork to come back from the printers, that kind of thing. That should be running in September, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to see more about this army, go to my blog. finnmccours.blogspot.com is where my kind of Games Workshop hobby stuff goes, as opposed to my Oakbound stuff. That's where all my kind of old hammer stuff is living. And at the moment there, you'll also see alongside the end of this project, I've been working on the big table from the 3rd ed rulebook, which I'm getting together for a game in November. So if you're interested in looking at how I'm doing some of the townscapes buildings for that, I've just been working on the hedges and trees today. That's a project that's very dear to my heart. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and that's ongoing on there. So do go over to finnmccours.blogspot.com. I think I'll put a link in the description, and you can check that out alongside better photos of all of these units and better photos of all of the units from all of my armies that are spread across the way. Do if you like what you've seen, do subscribe, do sign up to the channel, and then you'll get notified when there are other videos. Turn the notifications on, leave a comment. It all helps with the algorithm. And I shall see you next week for some more vintage stuff and some more new vintage stuff. Take care. See you soon.